Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
I am currently filling in for Jamie. She's on a
Okay.
flight right now. So I'm kind of her surrogate, but I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes just in case anyone else joins us. Oh, nice. Jalen.
Hello.
Hi. I was just saying I'll give it probably 2 more minutes. I'm just filling in for Jamie as she's on a flight from, I think, the Valley to Dallas.
Mm,
But I have a video from her. Are y'all able to see the video on my screen currently?
Yes.
yeah.
Perfect. All right. So yeah, at about 5:23, I will start it.
I may have to step away momentarily. We're also having a coinciding event at the school as well.
I totally understand. Yes, we also have a sports fest going on, so there are
Hmm.
plenty of people in and out of the building. But yes, you're good, Jay. No worries.
Thank you.
Yeah, then I must say that if you see people walking around and like asking me stuff, I'm in the lab. I haven't leave. I'm still working.
Oh.
So
So,
we
if
are
you don't
running.
mind me asking, Kelly, where do you work or what do you do?
So I'm a PhD student in the neuroscience program in UTSA. I'm in my third year now.
Nice.
Yes,
Wow. That's
just doing.
awesome.
Yeah, it's working a lot.
I
So
can imagine. I can imagine. Yes. Well, I am the proud biotech one, so biotechnology one, and career and technical education content leader for my school, which is Idea Health Professions. So we're in pretty far East Austin. I work pretty closely with Jamie a lot, and this is my second year teaching this content. But my third year with Idea, before I taught a different curriculum, but the same, it was still biomedical science. It was just through another program. But yes, I'm super honored that Jamie asked me to present this for her. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video that she made.
Hey
great.
there, I'm Jamie Del Mario. I am the CM or the Curriculum Manager for the Biomedical Sciences pathway at IDEA Public Schools. Welcome. Thanks for coming out to our first meeting of the year for year two of curriculum development. Unfortunately, I am traveling right now, and so I wanted to make sure that I had this video set aside in case I was in the middle of boarding a flight. And so please bear with me as we go through some of our key points for today's meeting. A little bit about myself is I am originally from Dallas. I grew up in Cedar Hill, a little town called Cedar Hill. And I went to school at Oklahoma State University, where I graduated with my bachelor's degree in biomedical science, from my bachelor's degree in biology and a minor in microbiology, where I worked as a lab assistant, as an undergraduate lab assistant. When I came back home, I got into med school up at the Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine in New York. And I completed 1 year there where I then went ahead and just got my master's degree and decided I was going to go back to teaching. And so I became a substitute teacher for a little bit before grasping a role in the CTE Biomedical Science department there. And that is a little bit of those are a little bit of my students on my last year of teaching there. And I taught at a school called Duncanville High School, one of the largest schools in the state of Texas, actually. From there, I then became a coach and started coaching science. Actually, I started coaching all content areas and then gravitated back to the sciences where I worked at Dallas ISD, and I enrolled at TCU in my PhD program, where I am now in my last year in my dissertation year, um, due to complete my PhD and graduate in May of 2025. And I have currently two publications, and one is my favorite in Frontiers article about self regulated learning. So you're welcome to check that out. And so from Dallas, I then moved over to one charter school to the next, and now I'm at IDEA, where I have full circle come back around to create the curriculum and develop a program that I started teaching at myself, which is the biomedical sciences. And so I join you today, humbled by the experiences I have and grateful to hear of your own experiences and see how they can help develop our program and make it better. My why. Some of the things I want to share about my why are gravitating towards why the curriculum is written as it is. And so I aim for the curriculum to be in part of the experiences that I have had outside of my hometown, being in New York, being in country rural town of Stillwater, Oklahoma. I've had drastically different educational experiences, and I bring those to the table as I present the curriculum I have with IDEA. And I support curriculum that is anti stereotypical. I don't like when I see curriculum that tracks students into a lane where we are stereotypically tracked into as black and brown peoples. And so I aim to have a lot of our students be apart from treatment and into a lane of researcher and developer and creator of some of the medications and procedures and techniques and things that are do help us to make patients better and cure them after all. I also aim for curriculum that makes teachers stronger in their profession. Coming into this role as being an instructional coach and then being an educator myself, I got the chance to see the hardships that come along with developing curriculum and presenting that curriculum in a pedagogically sound way. And so some of those core concepts are rooted into the way the curriculum is designed. And I aim for curriculum that makes students and teachers fall in love with science, real science. There's too many times where we have science teachers and science curriculum that is designed truly just to be a star prep or a state Texas test prep, AP prep. We're not about that. We are really about the doing, the messing up, getting wrong, and figuring out what you did wrong that science truly is. And so, conclusively, this curriculum is designed to be my love letter to something that's been near and dear to me, one of the highest pleasures of my life, which is science and science education. I wanted you to get an idea of what that curriculum looks like. So, at the top of your screen, you'll see the images of the first slide of some of our lessons. And so, on the left, you'll see our cloning lesson in biotech 2, and then on the right you'll see the end of the year capstone project that is going to be in each course along the way. There's always a capstone project for each course in the four course of the big biomedical science pathway. So students will, as freshmen, take biotech 1, and then they move into biotech 2 as sophomores, and then in their junior year they'll take pathophysiology, and then in their last year they will take medical microbiology. And so you'll see that the slide decks take time. They're attention grabbers. They are engaging, and they have a lot of I guess student friendly language and images along the way to capture students where and meet them where they are, but they are not the core of the class. They are just usually 20 to 25 minutes of lesson before moving into the 30-minute or the 25-minute independent practice where the students are truly doing something on their own with the lesson that they just learned. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see images of the actual classrooms and some of the setups and the materials that we have ordered, such as the autoclave, the refrigerator, some of the chemicals you'll see at the top there, cleaning supplies and things of that nature that are very typical things in biomedical science laboratories. And then on the right here, you'll see some of the curriculum components that are indicative in this course are again those slide decks, which is how it is written here in their unit plans, where they're able to get an information dump here. Teacher can become a student actually studying the center portion of their unit plan. And then on the right side, they will have the slide deck and the wet lab YAG linked if there is a wet lab for that day. And this is how our wet lab is organized into nice color codes for phases, of which when I come to regional visits, I will train the teachers in these particular labs, um, and allowing them to pick and choose which ones we would like to focus on. And then the learning objective for the day is always listed on the left, along with the standards that are attached to that particular lesson and the title of the lesson and the day that that lesson is supposed to occur. So all the resources are always linked there. But the second way that I may have curriculum design would be for there to be a class activities. On these days, this is more student led, student friendly. The student comes in and literally sees a one pager, which they can click on certain links, open them up, and begin activities that they can self pace themselves through. It's not really a day for teachers to sit back, though. It is a day for teachers to facilitate and help the progression of knowledge and keep up with pacing. So this is one of those days, and so this is the one pager the student would see, and they would click on things within here that have a link, and it opens up to these sort of attachments for that day for the student to self-pace themselves through. And this is an example of that slide deck day. Again, you'll see that slide deck on the right. So I've kind of already gone over the lesson sequence for this course and how you take the 4 courses. At the end of the first 4 courses, the teachers will have their students take the base exam, which is the biomedical assistant credentialing exam. And it is an exam that gives them a certification so that they can take it to any industry-based biomedical science laboratory and say that I am certified to operate these pieces of equipment. I know what the core features of a lab are, of a biomedical science lab are, and I'm ready to work in your lab. And so they can go work in any biomedical science lab right out of high school, and that's just really, it's really great. So our lab spaces are inviting to students. We have them where we're like white coats, just like us as the teachers. We set up their spaces to where they can see all of the equipment. Things are out, tangible, touchable, and it's just truly an environment where science rings. So you can see here that our wet lab YAG, like I showed you before, lays out for the full year, the year at a glance of all the labs that occur. And in Biotech 1, we have 26 lab days, and that is not including the 20 something days that are given to the capstone project, and this is the same thing in Biotech 2. For training for teachers, we have shifted. In year 1, there was a lot of supplies and materials that had came in, and so teachers were just trying to figure out where to put things and what things were. I think a lot of that is still happening this year, but there's been quite a bit of a transition, especially with the year 2 teachers, where they are now truly ready to dig their heels into the labs, whereas maybe their first year they're a little hesitant about it. And so there's 2 different types of PD training. I do in person, where I come in and we will either organize the space and do a lab audit, or we will actually focus in, laser in on a specific lab of their choosing. Before coming in, they'll let me know what those labs are. And then we also have virtual training, where sometimes I have them flip their cameras around and they will do things in their own space with direction and video assistance. And of course, me being right there kind of to assist each other along the way. And then they partner together and say, hey, I pressed this, I did this, it worked, this didn't work. And so that channel that allows them to communicate amongst each other is also there. The CTE vision is for our courses to be university bound and earn strong earning potential and positive job outlooks. And Martha kind of probably already talked about that in the first session. And so I just want to recap on like why we're focused on biomedical science as opposed to like cosmetology or other things. So our vision is to grow. These are our 6 campuses currently. 4 of them are in the Rio Grande Valley area, RGV, Brownsville, Texas, in that general area. And then we have 1 in San Antonio and 1 in Houston. Our vision is just to keep growing. So I just want to make sure I mention that. So there's our pathway yet again, and 4 courses. And some of the benefits that are there for being in the biomedical science program are we give individualized support. We truly don't have that many schools as opposed to like a nursing that everybody knows about nursing, so they gravitate towards it. They don't really know about biomedical science as much, and so we're trying to grow and learn and teach each other more about outreach so that we can grow our program. But right now we're sitting at 6, and so we get so much individualized support because of that. We message each other quite often and quite quickly. We have a really quick response in the biomedical science program. So that's one of the benefits. And we have an attendance booster because we're not only a STEM endorsement, but we also have known students that come into our program because it's offered at such a high level. They're doing such high rigorous work that they're just clearing away the water when it comes to the state exams. It's like, well, this is nothing because I took biomedical science courses. They are truly joyful to come into the classroom space because it's an area where they actually get to do real science as opposed to state testing, like I keep talking about. And we pay for a lot of things in CTE. We pay for registration, meals, lodging, travel of official career technology and student organizations, and attire for those events as well. So our event is HOSA. And we do have 3 teachers out of the 6 that are charting their own HOSA programs. And so we are amazed by that this year. We had 0 last year. Again, no one knew that biomedical science could do HOSA. I knew, and I was trying to tell people, and they just really got the word out this year with some of those teachers being returning teachers and more comfortable with the curriculum this year and able to feel like they could take on an actual HOSA chapter. So again, there are countless incentives, but one of the main incentives I like to push is the fact that we give a high school science credit in addition to it being a regular CTE course credit. So we add a little extra sauce on the fact that when students graduate, they graduate with 4 science credits as opposed to something I think they graduate in typical 2 or 3. So funding, we generated as CTE 32 million this year alone, but biomedical science did have 1 million of that we were able to award for supplies and advancement of advanced science equipment that you saw in some of those images. We have a 40K supplemental program allotment, which allows us to fund the first year of curriculum. And when the new campus comes in, we give them 40K so that they can purchase all of their equipment and pieces. And then we give an additional 10K to teachers individually so that they can, it's an individual teacher allotment so they can not furnish, but supply their classroom spaces with what they need as well. And then we have a protected honor because we are CTE. We have this way of making sure that staff are assigned and designated and proper and kept with the organization, within that organization. So for Biotech 1 and 2, this year we have developed a storyboard, which allows teachers to read through the whole year and see how each of the units interconnect and how the course as a whole should develop the student. And we do the same thing. This is our storyboard that you see here in yellow, just like you saw before. We also have disciplinary literacy components. A lot of people think that disciplinary literacy or literacy is just about ELA. It's truly about how people come to understand the information within your discipline, which is biomedical science. And so these are some of those disciplinary literacy features that you'll see embedded within each of our curriculum units. And so I will just close by saying one of the key points of this whole thing is that students deserve high quality, rigorous, hands on, and engaging curriculum with instructor support. And that's what CTE is all about, especially biomed. Our vision is that we want to get things right the first time. So we invite you to, or we know we're not going to get things right the first time, but rather I'm just saying that we invite you to look upon our vision from here. And so we have some questions we wanted to pose to the audience now, our attendees. If you would think about these things and be ready to share out, the first question is, what is the program getting right after you just heard kind of my spiel of everything that goes on within our pathway? And what changes do you see may need to be necessary as the program grows? And then what are some of the things that the curriculum needs to make sure it gets right going forward? And then how can we ensure the biomedical science program will ensure students are competitively prepared to advance throughout the scientific enterprise? And then lastly, what other things might the program consider as we go forward? As you reflect upon those, I just want to open the floor to Q&A, thoughts, comments, or questions, and also hear from some quality teachers that we might have in this space right now. Thank
These. Alrighty. So yes, I know that was kind of a long video. That was our curriculum manager, Jamie. She's super awesome. She's very supportive. I have been so glad to be able to work with her for the past 2 years. Um, and I wanted to open it up to Kelly and also Jalen. Kelly, I know she like posed a bunch of questions. Do you have any initial thoughts on any of that? I know it was a lot.
Yeah. Well, overall, I think it's amazing. I saw that you guys like keep in mind, uh, have things to keep them active to actually engage with like biosciences tool, which I think is gonna be, and it helps to like the learning and the memory process of them. Like that is an amazing experience that they're gonna remember like forever. So overall, I got a really, really good impression. I think the only things that I would like to know more is about like the process of training to like with the teachers specifically, because you can have a lot of amazing things. You can have an autoclave. You can put your students to do actual to grow microbiomes like cells and stuff. But I think that I'm worried or like just to know, because of course like I don't have uh like an insight of what the classes look like, and like what the organization look like, uh but like touching important points during the class instead of just let's have fun. More like, okay, with this as type of assessment, are we getting an actual goal? Like, are we getting to
Mhm.
the point of like, what do I want to teach? So that's just
Mhm.
what I wanted to know.
Yeah. I can touch on that real quick. So initially, I was teaching a different course, and they recently moved me to CTE, specifically Biotech 2, which is what I had mentioned a little while back. But basically, as it relates to when they moved me here, the reason why they moved specifically me is because of my background. So I think as it relates to teachers having um that foundational support to also support the students and be like, hey, this is the goal, this is why we're doing it. I think, at least campus specific here, but I think it's district wide. If they look for people that do have that background, and even if they don't have like the research background, they at least have some type of science background.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point of today, like we're not doing hands-on right now. Well, today they're doing a project, but they were like, well, why do we keep looking stuff up? Why do we keep looking stuff up? But I feel like because of my background, I was able to say not just because, oh, because the instructions tell you to, but because
Yeah.
I was able to elaborate and tell them, well, even in the real world of science, you have to look for these answers. There's not going to be people to be here and just tell you, oh, this is the answer. Like that's how science works.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they try their best to supply people with the background, and kind of like how Jamie mentioned in the video, she is very accessible. So like when I reach out to her, it's a quick turnaround time. And then with our training days, like our most recent one, we went over operations and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, because um, me being a PhD student, I have met people that they do research, but they are not good at teaching, like
Mhm.
at all. They just don't have the passion. They just don't have the talent. I don't know what to call it. They are not good at teaching. So
Mm.
that's why, that's my concern. And that will be like eventually one of the reasons why I would like to join to like the teaching field, because I do feel like there is like that lack of that type of assessment of like, okay, you know how to do research, but do you know how to actually teach to the students so they actually learn how to do research themselves? So that is one of like my biggest concerns. But that is like overall in terms of education. But now hearing that from Jalen, which I'm really it's great, it's great.
Yeah, and I can add on a little bit as well. Just IDEA as a whole has a very comprehensive teacher assessment tool. We have a rubric that we're assessed on for everything from content to the culture of our classroom to our behavior management inside our classroom, as well as like all of those holistic things. And then obviously like the data that comes in every day, we're supposed to have some type of assessment that kind of gives us an idea of where the students are and as far as the lesson of the day, and that kind of flows into our summative assessment at the end of a unit. So that's an all idea thing, but I think that also flows very well into our content individually because luckily Jamie makes it very easy to like really focus in on one or two topics a day and really get it right, really focus on getting it right.
Okay. And in terms of, so you mentioned a type of assessment. So, and like accumulating on, getting the data from like how the students progress. So, can I ask you like, what type of assessment usually is done? Like, how can you determine, if a student is falling behind compared to the rest of the group, and like, if it's falling behind, then how you can address it.
Yeah. Jalen, do you want to say anything or I can
Yeah.
also go ahead?
More specifically, that is very consistent at least. They have us do a 90-60-30 every week. Basically what that is you're taking your whole class, so all of your classes that you teach, and you're seeing who is basically reaching the goal of what you want them to learn, who's mastering that, and then who is just meeting it. And so all the students who fall within that 90-60-30, you would say are on track. And then anyone who is beneath that is where you're like, okay, so those are my students that are of concern. And then eventually, too, we have different types of software depending on how you test. You can look more closely at what topic area that you taught that they don't understand. So you can see like what their misconceptions are, why those misconceptions are there, or if it's, oh,
Oh no. I think she
Uh,
I think she accidentally exited out or maybe her laptop died. But
I
even though
think it
we're at
died.
different
Oh wait,
schools,
excuse me. That whoop was like,
oh,
if you're mute.
sorry.
there we go.
My laptop died,
Yeah,
and they
I
only they give you
figured.
one warning before they just die.
that's so
But
funny.
Yeah, so then you can do your misconceptions based off of that. And I think that was pretty much all I was saying.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love that.
And I was just adding on to that, Jalen. I mean, obviously, like all idea schools pretty much do the same thing. So we do that here as well. And we report out our data. I have to report my data after every single period. So after every period, we report like what went wrong. And based off our first teach or even our first and second teach of that concept, I report it to my manager, who is like our STEM manager. So it's not Jamie, it's someone else who directly manages me. But they still kind of help us brainstorm. All right, what were those misconceptions? How can we correct those or prevent those from happening? Um, and I also wanted to add, yes, we do like formative and summative assessments, which are usually online, but we also
Okay.
do practical exams, which are usually rubric based.
Okay. Okay. Do
Mhm.
you tend to like do writing when you're doing that computer? Uh,
There's usually a couple questions that are writing based. I will say for assessments, just for the sake of like grading them quickly, especially for a test, most of the questions are multiple choice. However, on my daily work that I do have them complete, I usually have several opportunities for writing. And I also have a lot of special education students that are integrated into my classroom. I also have one class that is purely RISE students, which is Ideas self-contained special education classroom. So those kids are not typically integrated into other classes. They're on their own, but I do have a group that comes into my class and gets to learn biomedical science, which is super awesome.
that's awesome.
And I also have a huge population of emergent bilingual or new to the country students who are not fluent in English at all. So they get a lot of opportunities to both verbally and written respond to a bunch of different prompts and just like critical thinking and also just getting that vocabulary in so that they get more of their writing on the daily and less so during assessments.
Okay, no, yeah, I think in that case is perfect. Um, because usually when you do that type of assessment like writing, that's where you can find how they can explain things and if they are
Mhm.
explaining things the way that they understand it.
Mhm.
If there's a misconception, that's where you can find it. That's like the best way for you to like say, okay, that's wrong. So
Exactly.
it's better to do it daily. Yes.
Yeah, and it's good. I enjoy that we get to do that daily because it helps kind of identify on the spot what we need to correct before it grows into a bad
Mm-hmm.
habit or that thought process grows into something else and now we have to backtrack on a lot of things. So
Yep.
yes. And I also, for me personally, I want to make sure like all of my students, all of my special education students, my RISE students, and my emergent bilingual students are able to have an equal opportunity to do well on the test, even if they aren't able to communicate really well. So we do
Mm-hmm.
have, at least in my classroom, a heavy focus on vocabulary and also using like sentence stems and that also helps them they have to take other tests too related to language so that it all kind of meshes together really well.
Nice. I do have a
Mhm.
question in terms of your group. Have you, if you have done it or have you think about it, to like do some sort of activity where you can have them join so they can, um, they can experience what it's like to work with people that are completely different from them, in terms of, increased diversity. Also, since they are young, it's good for them to like see that from that moment and, don't have like misconception of people that are different from them. Kind of like erase those bad habits that they have learned from adults and like learn more like themselves. Have you tried it? Have you done it? Is it
Yes,
possible?
yeah, it's definitely possible. So, like I had mentioned before, this is my second year working with Jamie in the same curriculum. Last year, we kind of attempted to have some outside partners from different companies in the area meet up with students or just be able to talk to them about, their path to how they got to their career, what their education journey was like, what their upbringing was like, kind of their mindset. Um, but since it was only our second year, we only got a few people. So we're
Okay.
still building that up. And I am all for it. I'm trying to get a bunch of people. It just takes some time.
Oh,
And then I think,
sorry, I was referring more to like the students that you already have. Because you told me that you have students from like Rice, and then you
mhm.
also have students that are bilingual. So
Do you
like
mean
are
like
those,
bringing all of those together?
yeah.
Yes, yes. So my special education and my bilingual students are in integrated classrooms with my general population students.
Okay, okay.
The only ones who are not are the RISE students, which are typically in a self-contained special education classroom. So just to accommodate like sensory issues, they have
Okay.
their own class period that I teach, which is kind of like, a little bit lower volume. The lights are a little dimmer.
Okay, okay.
But yes, all the other ones, they are completely integrated.
Okay, no, okay. So, okay, going back to the, sorry, that I misunderstood. Um, so going back to like trying to get people, may I ask, what you guys have done to that? Like, if there's something I can help to bring more people? Uh,
I think that would be a good place to like begin brainstorming. I know that, as a teacher, me personally, and I don't want to speak on anyone else's behalf, but it is a lot of work that we do, not just as facilitating instruction, but there's a million other moving parts. And I think I would definitely like to brainstorm on how we could bring in more people. Um, for me personally, I know just a handful of like my friends that work in labs, but I would like to try to reach out to more people. I live next to the University of Texas, so I would like to reach out to more people there. And we do have kind of a partnership with the University of Texas School of Pharmacy and also the Dell Medical Center. So I am trying to get some of those people. But I think kind of spreading the word about what idea is, like how the charter system works and how
yeah.
we're differentiating ourselves is kind of the bigger issue, especially since idea started in South Texas and we're fairly new in Central Texas and I'm sure in the other areas as well. So we're just starting to get our feet grounded in the community that we're in. So getting the word out is kind of a big priority right now.
Okay, have you guys done like interviews in the news?
Not really.
Because I think that will be so recently. One of my classmates, another PhD student here, she has a non-profit program for like high schoolers to come here and do some research during the summer. And they got to interview with news in the television. So that was
Wow.
like a way for them to spread the word and to, because it's, since it's non-profit, to like get people to sponsor them and things like that, people that wants to support somehow. So I think that would be a good idea because I think this is an
That
amazing
would.
program and I think that a lot
Hmm.
of parents would like their kids to be like in this type of charter. So I think that that would be a good way to spread the word in Texas.
Yeah, I definitely wrote that down. I'll share it with Jamie and hopefully at our next meeting we can brainstorm kind of more specifically how we can like target those sources. Okay. You froze for a little bit and I was like,
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm
you're
here, I'm
good.
here.
Yes. But it is 6 o'clock, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I do have another school obligation to attend to, but before I leave, and I know Jalen's also still on the call, are there any other questions, final questions I can answer before we head out?
No, 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 you're good. Again, like this is amazing. I love it. I love the curriculum and anything I can help. I'm here.
You're awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Jalen, did you want any final words?
She's
Maybe
long
she
gone.
did. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kelly. Have a wonderful night. I can't wait to connect further.
Yes, have a nice
All
night.
right.
Bye.
Bye.